Howdy homies, James here with Rewind Electric, and I've brought my SDE 3000A, one of them. This is new, just new to me. This is from the 1980s. This just arrived here in the shop via DHL from Japan. These are a 1980s Roland Echo unit that were made in Japan. I believe all Roland gear was made in Japan in the 1980s, and a lot of it still is. This is a 100 volt unit, so it needs to be converted to 120, which involves changing the primary tap on the transformer inside, as well as replacing a safety capacitor with a different value and a modern safety rating as well. I will also be putting a 3-prong power cord on it because it is a 2-prong and a non-polarized one at that. So the first thing I'm going to be doing here is testing it though, but let me a little bit of background on these. Roland has recently, Boss, which is a sub name of Roland, has recently put out, as I'm sure many of you have seen in heavy marketing that they're doing lately, a foot pedal version of 2 of these in a foot pedal box, and they're calling it an SDE 3000, I believe. And there's a little more to it than that. It's more than 2. I think there's actually 4 delay times, but it's primarily 2 of these units in a foot pedal with some extra features, and it is designed to emulate the sound of these. Particularly that one is designed to replicate the sound of 2 that apparently Eddie Van Halen had in his rack. I don't know at what time. Obviously this isn't like first album stuff. This is a little bit later on in Van Halen that these were being used. In fact, I wonder if there's a date on this. I'm not sure. No, not on the outside that I can see easily, but these date several years after the first even few Van Halen albums, I believe. Although they did have earlier versions. There was a 3000 non-A and a 1000, which both had less features and less delay time. The 3000A was kind of the pinnacle, and one cool thing about it that I don't think the others have is this knob on the back. They call it delay time, and what that is if you turn the knob up, it doubles your available delay time. Why would you not leave it up all the time, you may ask? Because it does so at the expense of the quality of the delays. That was seen as a bad thing initially. I like it a lot. I think that it sounds great. It gives that really kind of cool, grungy, old analog delay sound that you can only get with a piece of gear like this. So, and it doesn't affect the dry signal. This thing is so cool. Look at this. There's a flow chart on it. Did you think that Behringer actually invented something by making their gear like that? No, they stole it from these guys. And if you look at the flow chart, you can see that the analog signal, it is buffered and it goes through some analog circuitry, but it does not go through actually all of the it doesn't go through the ADDA conversions. It doesn't go through the delay circuitry. That's different. But however, you can actually get into, this has ins and outs, extensive I/O, and you can get into you can put effects on just the delay through a loop on here if you'd like to, keeping your dry signal dryish. I mean, it's not true bypass. I wouldn't want it to be. The buffer in this is amazing. I love it. You can think of it sort of like an EP3 Echoplex buffer, where it is actually adding something, and I like to crank it. And that's a tip from my buddy Zach. He said, yeah, just forget that input meter and just drive the thing, it'll sound great. And yeah, sure enough, it does. Just like old MXR pedals or Echoplexes or other gear that might have a great buffer in it that you can use to your advantage. This is one of those. So that's a bit of talk about what it is, and and you know, how it works a little bit. The first thing I need to do is test this. I'm probably not going to do the actual conversion tonight. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee it. I have some other pressing things on my schedule for this evening that have to happen ahead of that paid work. So I think we're just going to do a little brief testing on this. I hope I have enough cables. Yeah, it looks like I do. So, what I don't have though enough of is power outlets. No, I have another power strip over there, so I think we're going to be okay. Now this is, like I said, the Japanese version, not the US version. They made another version of this, sold in the US, which is really the same thing, just one different capacitor, different setup of the power supply, probably some different branding on the back, different certifications and such. So this runs on 100 volts. Japan is, as far as I know, their power grid runs at the lowest AC voltage of any common, or I'll say larger country, that any country at all that I'm aware of. 100 volts is low. 120 volts is actually, you know, that's where we are in the US. Supposedly, you know, it's, I've had it go up to 140 here at the wall, but that's even relatively low compared to a lot of the rest of the world that runs at 200, 210, 220, 240. I'm sure Australia is in 240 zone. Now, I have a Variac in the isolated bench power supply that I built. So I'm going to use that to run this. And for test amp, I'm using a 78 Princeton reverb. And I'm also going to run that through the Variac. I don't have to, but I don't actually have another 120 volt outlet I can pop right into easily enough here this evening. I've got a lot of camera stuff as well as the bench equipment plugged in. I think it's time I have a more permanent fixture here with some more outlets, so that'll be an upgrade to my my workbench. Is kind of like built up like a shanty town in layers of adding things as necessary. Perhaps not the most glorious way to do things, but functional. All right, into the amp here. I'm going to do the mixed output. I'm going to run it at, I forget, I think -20. +4 or -20. They're just the input level and impedances that you can run this at. I don't know that it actually changes the impedance in this case. It might just be the level. I found one to be significantly noisier than the other in the last one I had. I don't remember which one it was though. But in the meantime, all I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it in bypass, turn the power on, turn the input down, and I'm going to bring the power up over here on my bench power supply slowly to 120. I'm going to monitor it while I do that. I don't know that there's an easy way I can tilt this up to such an extreme angle that you could see it on the camera, but let me look around and see. Perhaps there is something I can rig up real quick. I'm going to go with no, but actually I have an idea. This is going to be a little ghetto, but hey, this thing didn't survive from the 1980s across countries and continents to now by not being a tough bad boy of a machine. So I think I can balance it on some wooden blocks and say, yeah, we're good. Yeah. Oh, that's a little wobbly, but this is only going to be for a couple minutes. Okay, so now, and there, I just wanted to get all the LEDs on the camera. This one, we'll focus on it. Okay, you doing okay, camera? You doing okay, camera? You doing okay, little Mr. Rhodes Shotgun Mike? Not a glorious system here, but it's getting better. It's getting better quickly. Well, I wonder if you can see my bench supply if I draw a box on me noggin. Okay, so now the camera wants to follow me. And now if I step on over here, I'm moving this slowly. Will this go so far as to see this? I don't know, maybe not. But here, let's watch. Now I have to watch the front of that box too to see when it comes on. We're at 39 volts. Ah! Saw a little flicker. Yeah, there it goes. That's at 70 volts. Now remember, this wants to see 100. And that's what it shall see. And I will be conservative rather than generous when I get near 100. Yeah, here we go. 99.3. We'll leave it there. That is good enough. Okay. So, how about a quick function check? Can I realistically plug in and not knock this thing over? Probably not. Well, it's kind of stable. Let's give it a go. I should have tuned this. Doesn't sound too bad. Doesn't sound too bad. Okay, I've got to be fairly careful to not yank that cord, else we might have a quite entertaining video and a not so pleasant experience with the box. I'm gonna move the camera back around here. Okay. This is bypassed now, and that buffer is about halfway up. My telly's in the neck position and all the way up. I don't know if this buffer works when it's in bypass or not. I mean, obviously the volume control works, but let's see if we get a jump here. No, we don't. However, there is that level switch on the back. There we go. That's what I was expecting. Yeah, that's... I don't know if you guys can hear that, because I don't want to crank the amp up too much. But here, I will for a moment. Okay, now you hear that level of hiss? It got quieter. But it got quieter. There's the hiss. Now it got quieter. Now, the reason that's significant is because the hiss happens in the opposite position you would expect. So it gets more hiss in the lower gain setting. There's the hiss, and it's got a little like whooshy whooshy happening, and that's probably just because my phone is here. I forgot to put it in airplane mode. And there's another phone there. So isn't that something? The quieter position regarding the hiss is the louder position regarding the gain. Ain't that cool? Okay, let's listen to some delay. One thing that I really like about getting a used piece of gear that has presets is listening to the presets and hearing the thoughts or the style or whatever, like getting a glimpse into the mind of the previous owner and what they liked musically. I think that part is so cool. And that's assuming that the battery in this still works for the memory, because it is powered by a little 4-volt battery, I think it is. So this has 2 banks of 4, so there's 8 presets total. That's 1. I think that's just the reverb from the amp we're hearing. That's 2. It's hard for me to see these numbers and if they're changing or not. That's 3. This must be bypassed. Yes, it is. All right. Here's 1. I don't hear a lot there, if anything. Here's 2. Yeah, I'm not hearing much. Okay, I can tell you now looking at this, these are all 0 on all the settings. So that means ain't nothing happening. Now the text is worn off a bit on these, but I can still kind of see it. Let me balance my guitar here a bit. So let's go back to Bank A, preset 1, increase the delay time. It's counting up. Let's give it some feedback. Oh, that's way too much feedback. What was I thinking? Okay, we're like 130 milliseconds. Let's increase the level output so we can hear it. There we go. A little slap back action. Now, I have a feeling based on these things all reading 0 across the board that not only am I disappointed in not hearing the previous owner's musical thoughts, but that it's not going to save either. It probably needs the battery replaced, which is fine. I have a bunch of these. These actually use focus. What's the name of these cells? I forget. It's not going to say on here because these are made. It's like a CRN1/3, I think. Don't quote me on that. But these are Veridian brand, which they make like weapon sights and lasers for actual weapons. So those are the ones that I've found to be the most reliable, the longest lasting, because literally people's lives do depend on them. I'm a big fan of those Veridian batteries, and that's what I'll be putting in here. But they do not just pop in or clip in. They're soldered in on the board. So that'll be part of the service, as we'll be changing out the capacitors. Those are the X2 rated safety caps. And not only is the rating different on the for a modern safety cap, first of all, but not only is the rating different than what's in here, but the value of the capacitance is also different. And I believe the voltage for the Japanese version, which this is, versus the US version, which I'm going to convert it to. So that'll all be part of the service that I give it. I'm just gonna play a little bit more of this. Let's get the delay time down, try some different stuff here. Now there's this 2 times button here, 2x, which doubles your delay. Pretty cool, yeah. It's got a filter on it, which is just a fixed It's a low pass? Maybe it's a band pass, but I think it's a low pass. Yeah, you can hear it rolling off the treble on the echoes. Independent feedback phase. And what was this one? This is the phase of something else. I think this is just the... Oh, I don't know what that is. I forget. The writing is gone. That might be another project for this one. But there's the delay phase, which I think means the unit. I think that's referring to the unit as a delay, the phase of the entire gizmo. Should you have two together in stereo, or you run one to one amp and one to another, and the amps are at a phase, that will reverse the polarity of the everything, wet and dry. This is just the feedback phase, where it leaves you dry intact and reverses the phase of the feedback, which can be handy if you're running you know, something in the feedback loop of this. So if, say, you were just putting, like, I don't know, like a tube screamer, just a little bit of dirt on the echoes only, but that effect you had was also reversing the phase. This will let you flip it back. Or maybe you like that out of phase echo sound. I mean, totally up to your preferences here. We're talking about music, you know. There are no right or wrongs, and there are no rules. Okay. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be hard to show because this doesn't have any pre-saved presets, but when you get the delay times and the feedback set right, this thing actually does a seriously mean chorus or flange. And it does have modulation on it as well. Yeah, you're hearing me like start to touch on that now. Let's give it a little more feedback. I think my delay time is too low. Great. Now there's that time, or I think that's what they call it, knob on the back. Let's mess with that. Ah. Yeah, see, you don't get that. You don't get that, I don't think. I'm gonna crank the modulation depth up here. I don't think you get that on the new Boss pedal. that case, the feedback being out of phase sounds fuller because you're messing with delay times, which create phasing issues, and that just happened to correct it. I'm sure this is getting pretty boring. I'm going to wrap it up in a sec. I will try to save a preset. And the way you save a preset is the way you would do it in your old car stereo, which I imagine most people here are maybe unaware of. Man, that's wild. It's just creepy. Oh, it's like some disturbing sounds there. I'm trying to play into it too. Go back to the neck. Take the depth down to 50. It was at almost 100. That's kind of nice. Alright, I'll try to save this. What I was talking about with the presets and the car stereo thing, I kind of got a little lost in the echoes there for a moment. So liquidy and cool. Let's see if I can just set this up here. I believe you just hold in the button. Maybe you'll see a light blink or flash. Let's find out. Yeah, it started flashing. Okay. But now, I'm going to try and save it again to 2 also. Okay, we got the light flashing. Now, if I go to 3, okay, all gone. 2. Oh, it's back. So it looks like the presets do work and it just was cleared out. Or perhaps the battery's weak and, like, you know, it hasn't been used in a while, so I was able to squeeze a few drops out of it, but it's all gonna disappear by the next time I plug it in, which is entirely possible. I don't know if that battery's ever been changed. Sometimes when I get these, they have. Sometimes you'll find that they were changed, you know, in the late 80s or the 90s. And if you get one that was changed with the right battery at the right time, it can still be running strong. Sometimes I'll measure, like, I think they're supposed to be 3.4 volt batteries, and I've measured 3.2, 3.3. So it, that's pretty good. They're little lithium ion cells, or, well, I don't know if they're lithium ion. They're lithium. Little lithium cells, and so they're tough little batteries. Okay, I think that's going to wrap it up. I will do the service on a video, and I'll show what I do as I do the US conversion of the Japanese units. Let me turn the variac down here. But I want to make it clear that although I am a professional, I'm not an electrician, so, and I can't even pronounce professional very clearly. Maybe it's not a how-to, just as a watch what I do. Let's go with that. Okay, so enjoy watching me do things, but maybe don't take it as instruction, because I'm just a knucklehead here tinkering around with stuff, and I know the risks and I'm willing to take them. So, hey, we didn't knock it over. There it is. Ye old 1980s Roland SDE 3000 Alpha. So, yeah, guys, enjoy it. See ya!